Hey you guys, we're back with another episode of Sryth, our fantasy text-based RPG. Last time we were going through Hawklor, seeing what quests we can come across there until we got a leather pouch to take to Sryth. So we ended up doing that at the end of the quest. So we're gonna head back to Hawklor. It's the same day, so I can't do any more stuff with my castle. So we're gonna head back to Hawklor and see what else we're gonna have going here. Thanks so much for joining me and hanging out. I appreciate it. Lovely to see you as always. Travel. Alright, we're going back to Southwest Tisa. And we're gonna go back to Hawklor since we're outside of Hawklor. Since we're out here, we might as well hit to Boromar's cabin, which is Puripor's cousin. Set back against the forest of the outskirts of Hawklor at the end of a long twisting path is the cabin. Path is the cabin of a local renowned huntsman, Bayomar. That's what I'm wrong with. Several scratched demon hides, wolf pelts, and bear skins in different stages of tanning process adorn a long rack to the left of the cabin's front door. A neatly stacked pile of firewood stands on the right side of the door. A thin stream of smoke rises from the small structure's long chimney. Pay visit. Bayomar, yeah, that's what we're doing. Bayomar seems quite happy to have company. He welcomes you to a small cabin in the outskirts of the village and offers you a steaming pail of mug of palo. No doubt you'll be wanting that prize that Pyrrhus sent you here to fetch, he laughs. News certainly travels with a good bit of speed about these parts, wouldn't you say? Yeah, I would say. Bayomar produces a hinged wooden box and flips open the lid to reveal a glimmering blade of soundly crafted dagger. A small ruby is set into the weapon's hilt. Bayomar tells you that the dagger is enchanted and was given to him many years back by a spellcaster known as Gloric, who has since passed away. He tells you the dagger will help with your combat prowess and it's extremely valuable. Let's see how valuable it is. +1 melee. If you find someone who can afford it, it might fetch a pretty sum. Of course, it's a decent weapon, so I'm sure you can find some use for it. Bayomar rushes over to check the pot of palo that's boiling in the hearth. He returns momentarily and offers you a mug of the steaming brew. Several mugs of pale lady decide it's time to bid Bayomar a farewell and politely do so. Before leaving his cabin, preparing to set off for Hawklor. Back to Hawklor we go. Thanks so much for me, dagger. Alright, go back in Hawklor, so we've been to the stables. Let's hit the church. A small one-room church is plainly decorated. The wooden podium stands in one end of the space, while two rows of wooden pews take up the rest of the interior. A hatch set in the floor in the back of the room presumably offers access to a cellar. The rector of the church, a man named Tibbin, is hard at work repairing various things. He doesn't immediately notice you enter. Suddenly he looks up, raises to his feet, and brushes himself off. He greets you warmly. May the All-Father guide you on your path, he says, smiling. Let's talk. Tibbin tells you that he's become worried about a group of travelers that he's been expecting for the last couple of days. They left Talinas over a week ago, he explains, and they should have arrived here by now. There would have been a whole wagon full of them, 8, maybe 10, I'm not quite sure, men, women, and children. Tibbin explains that the people he's speaking of were to travel through Hawklor on a pilgrimage south to the distant city of Seer. I was to take the journey with them, he says solemnly. I cannot help but feel partially at fault what may have befallen them on the road. These are dangerous times indeed. Tibbin's face suddenly lights up as he looks you over with a critical eye. Perhaps you and I, Alison, yes, perhaps we could go and look for them. There's nothing that I can offer you except the knowledge that we will be doing the All-Father's will. What do you say? What say you? What say you? Sure. Tibbin smiles as you accept the invitation to join him in the hunt for the missing wagon. May the All-Father bless you, Alison, he beams. His guidance is all that I require, but it is sure would be a blessing to have your help in this matter. I do hope that I have not already acted too late. Tibbin takes you over to the large wooden chest at the back of the church. He flips back the lid, revealing a wide assortment of items. Take and keep whatever you need, Alison, he says. You are somewhat surprised when Tibbin hangs a sword and a dagger from his belt. You look through the items in the chest and note the following pieces. I'll take the rope and stuff and a lantern, but you can keep the rest of this. When you're ready, Tim leads you out of the church and begins to search for the missing wagon. For nearly an entire day, you wandered the countryside outside of Hawklor, searching the roads for any sign of the missing wagon and its passengers. Timon never seems to tire of the search, despite the fact that after several hours of searching, you have turned up no leads. At last, as late afternoon is rapidly turning dusk, you find what you've been looking for. On the forest road, about 3 miles outside the village, you came upon an abandoned wagon at the base of a steep, wooded slope. A team of horses that would have pulled it are nowhere to be seen, and as you draw closer, you detect signs of a violent struggle. The side of the wagon is splattered with blood in several places, and a broken wooden club lies near one of the wheels. Suddenly, Timon cries out and rushes to the rear of the wagon. Stepping around the back of the wagon, you find the rector stood down, cradling the bloodied head of a young man. The man's breath is shallow and ragged. "Thank thee, old father, you're here," he gasps, his face betraying the pain that speaking caused him. "Can I use restoration?" "Now, me and him." It's difficult for the young man to talk, but he tells you and Timon, that the wagon was attacked by 2 large grey-skinned humanoids no more than an hour ago. The massive creatures swooped down off the hillside and launched a brutal attack. He tells you that he was knocked senseless by one of the hooking brutes, where he tried to defend the others with a wooden club. Still, he remembers the beast rounding up the other passengers and carrying them off into the hills, presumably alive. You learn that apart from the man, there were 8 other passengers on the wagon: 2 men, 3 women, 2 girls, and a boy. He tells you that the 2 horses that pulled the wagon broke free and fled when the 2 beasts appeared. Based on your description, the saying that you and Tim both agree that you're talking about one thing: ogres. "Oh, ogres, grab your pitchforks!" Timon sets about binding the young man's wound as best he can. When it's finished, can I use restoration now? No, in prepping health. Once finished, you help him lift the wounded man in the back of the wagon, where he should be relatively safe. You know that the ogre lair can't be far from here, so you and Timon set off into the forest and search the other passengers. Yes, better look for him now, otherwise they're gonna be dead. Doesn't take long for your search to pay off. Less than half an hour after leaving the road, you discover the ogre lair at the base of a steep hillside. 2 young ogres, each larger than the man, standing outside the dark mouth of the cave. Large fire is roaring not far from where they stand, and a large iron spit has been erected over the blaze. You know all too well that the ogres plan on eating their prisoners. You only hope they are still alive. You glance over at Tim, and he gives you a nervous nod. You sense that his resolve remains strong, but he is looking for your guidance in the situation. 2 possible plans spring to mind. You could attack the 2 ogres here and now, although not certain there aren't more inside the cave or around the area, or one of you could lead the 2 ogres away from the cave, making it possible for the other to investigate the whereabouts and status of the wagon passengers. Tim nods his approval upon hearing your suggestion. "Yes, one of us should lead them away, and it should be you." "Perhaps you should lead them on the chase, Allison," he says, his voice trembling somewhat. "I would not hesitate to wager that you can run a fair bit faster than me. Better than me. If you let them away from here, I can see if the people are inside the cave and get them out." You silently agree with his assessment, and it's doubtful that he will be able to outrun them for very long. "Alright." With the plan agreed upon, you sneak through the woods away from Timon. When you have put several yards between the 2 of you, you suddenly begin shouting and waving your arms at the 2 ogres. Both ogres snap their heads in your direction, set out towards you in a good trot, with heavy wooden clubs at the ready. The chase is on. As you flee through the woods, leading the ogres away from the lair, you glance back to see Timon cautiously approach the mouth of the cave. You dash through the trees, leading the ogres in the chase that's taken away from the lair. You only hope that you can keep them away long enough so that Timon can find and help you rescue the people those ogres have captured. You're alarmed at the rate the 2 young ogres seem to be gaining on you, and begin to wonder if you're able to stay ahead of them for much longer. Success! After nearly half an hour of flight, you finally manage to shake the pursuit of the young ogres, and as you crouch in the dense thicket, making every effort to control your ragged breath, you watch the 2 ogres trot past, evidently still believing that you're following your trail. Confident the ogres will not be back this way for quite a while, you begin to hastily make your way towards their lair. Upon your return to the ogre lair, you find that Timon has all the former prisoners outside the cave alive and well. You have to learn that each and every person, apart from minor cuts and bruises, are all accounted for and in good shape, considering their ordeal. The rescue passengers thank you, and Timon again for rescuing them for the question of the ogres. When the prisoners were all shut as they looked at a large fire and spit erected over it. It was that spit that nearly became their fate. Winter kicked dirt onto the fire until it was out and before leading the people back to their wagon. Upon returning to the wagon, everyone was surprised to find that one of the horses had returned, and after several minutes of searching, the second horse was also rounded up nearby. He helped rehitch the two horses and then boarded the wagon with Tim and the others. You remember that you and Tim found wounded? Professor arrives in great spirits and thanks both of you for rescuing the others. Truly heroic, he says, smiling at both of you. It was the old father's will, smiles Tim in return. When all is set, one of the passengers takes the reins. The wagon rolls towards Hawklor. When you arrive at the church, Tim again thanks you for your help and tells you that he will now be leaving with the others as they continue their pilgrimage this year. You bid them all farewell. I mean, you want to get some more food ready? Y'all want to rest a minute first? Okay, good luck. Means the church is probably empty now. Who is this? Real. Let's see. A deep winding forest trail by the edge of the sprawling bog, a few miles outside of Hawklor, sits a small cabin located renowned with Thai adventurer and hermit Bithril. Despite his oft-professed aversion to signing all its conventional trappings, the elder recluse is usually friendly to those who make a trip to his humble abode. According to anyone old enough to remember, Bithril was once an adventurer whose various exploits are remembered in a number of tales. As you approach the cabin, Bithril, seated in a broad-backed wooden chair just before the front door, greets you with a wave and a smile. What has brought you out this way? He asks, still smiling. Nice to see the younger folks that know how to find their way about. As you can converse with Bithril in a variety of topics to learn that he has to say about a particular subjects like the corresponding option below. I think I've talked to this guy already. At length he politely bid Bithril farewell and set off to the trek back to Hawklor. The elder hermit tells you to stop by for a visit any time. Take care of yourself, friend. You'll have to give me my regards to the village, if you will. Yeah, I've talked to him. You come to waste the life of day, or is there something I can do for you? Yeah, no, I don't have anything. Alright. It's dangerous to approach people. As you approach the peddler, he looks up and smiles, though it's fairly obvious the expression in his voice. He then mumbles a greeting and quickly casts his gaze about the village square. When his eyes return to you, he steps closer and speaks in a low but suddenly clear voice. You don't strike me to be much like the rest of them, he says, waving his arm about in an attempt to the way he's speaking about the village at large. I know just a bit about it. I know just a bit about a bit. If you follow and I've got something sure that will interest you. Well, are you interested? Sure. Only a fool wouldn't be interested, he says, all but growling as well. Word, follow me and out, if you will, and I have no desire to set up unbiteable wares here, just over there, by the thicket. Yes, that will do. She entered the thicket just outside a lane that runs from the stables to Hawklor's main thoroughfare. The peddler lays out a grand collection of enchanted plumes. Tells you that plumes... I think I did this already. Enchanted plumes. It tells you that plumes, which are large silver feathers of a tackleback, are enchanted with powerful magic. Someone like you ought to know a proper use for one of these, mind you. I'll never ever sell you one of these. I'll only ever sell you one of these to make you trust the carefree and have a look at them. Obviously I want the best one. What do they do? This plume will automatically augment any piece of head armor you're wearing, with a bonus to your melee, stamina, and never reserve. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you this one. The peddler bows and thanks you, accepts your payment and hands over the enchanted plume. It's attached already to my assassin's cowl. Head. Okay. You won't find anything like them anyplace else, he says. So it's trailing off in an audible mumble. Cool. As he packs his business belongings and prepares to set off. I'll be off, so mind yourself. Hope you don't have to spend too much time in these parts. Farewell. You stand for several moments and watch as he departs, moving instantly along the wide lane that leads to the village man's thoroughfare. When he is at last out of sight, you carefully examine your newly acquired prize before turning and making your way back to the center of Hawklor. Alright. Okay, we can explore, we can do adventures, we can do proving grounds. I'm gonna go for adventures and do one before this episode's over in about 15 more minutes. We can do the Savage Wild. We learned that Landmere Greyfin, whose farm sits in the outskirts of Hawklor, was recently begun to report wolf attacks on his renowned flock of sheep, and that he's offering generous rewards to anyone bold enough to eradicate the menace. You take the opportunity to approach him and inquire further. Embark! Landmere Greyfin, whose teeming flock of Biranok sheep, the hardy breed of Broadland sheep, famous for their ability to thrive in both cold and temperate climates, are highly valuable for the quality of their wool. And the envy of the entire Hot Hills region has recently reported several wolf attacks in his valuable livestock. While such incursions by wolves and other predators are not uncommon throughout the remote corner of the kingdom, the creature that mauled and devoured a handful of Landmere's stocks based on his own sightings of them seem to fit the description of crag wolves. Few predators across the vast breadth of the North Broadlands are as feared as large black and vicious crag wolf, and steeped in legend. These savage beasts, nearly half again as big as their smaller wolf brethren, are strong enough to be an horse and aggressive enough to prey upon all but the very largest denizens of the wild. Over the past several centuries, the number of crag wolves that roam the North Broadlands has dwindled considerably, leaving many to believe the species was dying out. Recently, however, sightings of the fearsome predators have been on the rise. Larger, stronger, far more aggressive than the smaller brethren, crag wolves, long thought to have disappeared, have been spotted with growing frequency across a wide swath of the northern realms. We learn that Landmere has reportedly located the cave in which the crag wolves have taken up residence, and these offers a generous reward to anyone who's bold enough to eradicate the menace. You take the opportunity to approach him and inquire further. Let's hear about it. Landmere Greyfin, his thick, work-worn fingers gripping the steaming mug of palo, blows back a dangling strand of his tangled greying hair and sides. The broad-shouldered farmer, long considered to be the strongest man within a week's travel of Hawklor, now shuffles about only with the help of his sturdy cane in an effort to offset a recent injury to his left leg. "You're the only one who showed any interest in it," he says, his deep voice cracking in odd intervals. "I don't suppose I ought to have expected much else. Folk have their own problems, of course. I got the lads watching the flock, but I don't know they'll stick to it when the wolves come prowling. I don't think I would." Landmere tells you that two of his farm hands just discovered a cave in the forest nearest his farm in which crag wolves had taken up residence. When you inquire further, you learn that he has seen at least 8 of the vicious creatures in and about the cave. He says he will pay 500 gold to anyone able to remove the wolves. 500? Now we're talking. Although, I got 500,000 technically. $250,000, between $250,000 and $500,000. He says he'll pay. Okay. So there he is, he says, a little bit of gold for a good bit of service, and not just a service to me, mind. There's a good many folk around here whose animals are endangered as long as those wolves are running about. Well, what do you got to say about that? So for the payload which Landmere brought for you, carefully consider his proposal. 500 gold for clearing crag wolves out of the cave. Sure. Landmere's creased face brightens, and he manages a faint smile when you tell him you accept his offer. "Had a good feeling about you," he says, his voice continuing to crack at all intervals. "Well, then it's settled, and there isn't much more to tell you about it except where to find the cave." Listen carefully as Landmere describes for you the location of the cave. After listening to Landmere detail to the location of the cave, which should be in a thick patch of forest less than a mile from the eastern edge of his meadows, you finish your pale and bid him farewell. "Thank you," he says, as you prepare to part. "Luck be with you. Let me know the moment those wolves have been taken care of, and we'll set everything up." So explore the village, Returns to the previous discovered cave, forest cave near the landmade's barn. Okay. I'm going to save. Save now. It's been 5 days since I've saved. Alright, travel. No, that's not what it said to do. It says explore. Return to previous locations. Forest cave. You're standing in the midst of a tangled swath of forest almost a mile east of Farmer Greyfin's largest meadow. Several yards away, tucked beneath a jagged outcropping of rock that extends along the base of a steep hillock, is the dark, gaping mouth of the cave. The ground in front of the cave mouth is littered with the evidence that suggests a large number of wolves have taken up residence there. This reminds me a little bit of Tomb Raider, where old boy gets attacked by wolves and she has to go up to the cave. Like, no. Let's go. Moving cautiously, you trust the light flaring brightly as you. If you want to what's on my shirt, it's The Legend of Zelda. It doesn't say which game, but I'm imagining it's the princess one. What's the princess one? No, I think it's Ocarina. That looks like the Ocarina one. I'm thinking it's what's the princess one? The princess one where Midna is the princess and not the actual princess. They try to do a twist on you. Anyway, let's go. Moving cautiously, your trusted light flaring brightly as it parts the shadows, you make your way into the cave. You're standing just inside the mouth of the cave. To the east, the broad, uneven corridor swiftly disappears into darkness. Behind you, to the west, the pale dust-chalk light of the forest filters into the gloom-filled lair. Alright, well, we'll start at the top. And now we're here. You freeze in mid-step as a sinister shape begins to emerge from the gloom ahead, instinctively drawing yourself into a defensive stand. You watch as a large black wolf steps into view, and the fearsome crag wolf, his head hung low and its bright yellow eyes reflecting the glow of your light, bears its teeth, snarls, and slowly begins to circle you. Without warning, the wolf lunges. Schley! Step away from the remains of the slain wolf and spend a few moments checking over your equipment. Based on what you've seen and heard while exploring the cave, you remain convinced that more crag wolves still inhabit the lair. So it's one of those where you just go around killing everything till it says no more in red. After making certain that nothing is lurking into the nearby darkness, you once again set off through the cave. So yeah, you just look around until you kill everything. So I'm not going to read that anymore, we're just going to do it till it says there's no more. Shelf. It might sound really good in here. Yes, you step into a small chamber. The end of the tunnel, your eyes are met with a gruesome, chilling sight. Lying on the side of the base of the far wall, it's also riddled with deep, hideous gashes of a massive crag wolf. A fearsome creature much larger than any other wolf you've encountered in this cave swiftly stumbles to its feet and turns to face you, its yellow eyes shining in the glow of your light. And as wounded but vicious predator bares its deadly teeth and gives a snarl, you suddenly realize the wolf is about to attack. Archery. With remarkable speed, you draw your bow, notching the arrow, take aim at the snarling crag wolf. Holding your breath, you loose the feathered shaft and watch it plunge into the creature's chest with a painful yowl. The massive wolf, though gravely wounded, lunges you in the last desperate attack. Death. A ragged gasp suddenly escaped from the crag wolf as the vicious predator at last succumbs to the wound riddling its torso. The savage beast, that twitching rapidly, topples and the silence expires. And as you step away from the wolf's remains, you suddenly spot the stone strongbox resting in the flat rock at the back of the chamber. The carcass of the massive crag wolf lies across the threshold of a small chamber in the tunnel. Resting on the flat rock at the back of the chamber is a stone strongbox. It's closed and locked. Thievery. With your set of lock piece in hand, you set to work on the strongbox. It takes less than a minute to toil to produce the desired result. After securing your picks, you carefully open the stone box and peer inside. Hey, someone identify stuff to give to Amir or whatever it is. After making certain you haven't overlooked anything, you once again prepare to set off for the cave. I got a key. A key! Alright. West. Hey, it's more wolves. Still more in here, so we gotta keep going. Let's go south from here. Keep going, there's gonna be more. Keep going south. South. Let's go all the way this way first. So they make a startling gruesome discovery. The skulls of 3 horses and an assortment of items line a natural rock shelf on the east wall to the section of the cave passage. A close-up examination of the items in the shelf reveals 3 leather tunics, each emblazoned with a silhouette of a griffin's head, the insignia of Tissian's border rangers. Based on the condition of the horse or scores of the modern deterioration of the tunics, you estimate the 3 rangers to which this pair belong likely met a gruesome in and around the cave within the last several years. After a moment, they decide whether or not to take the tunics once again. Alright, give them to me. And once again, resume your exploration. Get the wolves. Beast. Let's try the key. Use it. Innocent long iron key into the keyhole. With some difficulty, managed to the key right until you suddenly hear a loud click. The chest is now unlocked. After removing the key, you carefully lift the lid and peer inside. Chest, you discover a large assortment of items. Well crafted. Look there. Sturdy, common, superior, exceptional. Beneath the pile of items, you find a bag containing a large quantity of gold. Having exhausted your examination of the chest and its contents, take a few moments to adjust your equipment before once again setting off on your way. Yep, we've opened it. Alright, let's go outside. A large number of animal counts summon various states of decay and heaps and piles that cover the uneven floor of the end of the cave tunnel. A thorough examination of the pelts turn up 4 wolf skins and a bear skin have yet to suffer the ravages of the escape. The cave, believing the pelts may prove to have some value, quickly decide to take them. Okay. Pelts tucked in safely among your other belongings. So let's look at them to see where I can sell them. Pelts. Animal pelts. These pelts are likely to be interested in a man named Timokith. Find Timokith's shops by exploring the city of Hawklor in northeast Tisa. Alright, let's keep going. Suddenly, just about you conclude your search, you spot a strange looking pelt toward the bottom of the piles. You quickly retrieve the skin and start discovers the hide of a Iragorol. Unable to fathom how such a pelt found its one dark corner of the cave, far removed from the high snowy slabs of the Iragorol inhabit, you nonetheless recognize its value. Sweet. Large number of animal counts. Alright, let's leave. North, west, south. A large pile of debris and refuse fills the small, sunken chamber to the south of the cave passage. You quickly realize the pile is largely made of decaying animal remains. Let's take a look. Towards the bottom of the pile of refuse, next to the magnificent carcass of a small deer, you discover a leather pouch containing a small quantity of gold. After taking possession of the gold and doing what you can to clean the remnants of the gruesome pile from your hands and arms, you conclude your search and prepare to resume the exploration of the cave. I'm sure some kind of powers I have can get rid of stuff off me. Alright, let's leave. Okay, let's head south here. 2 wolves in here. Step into a wide alcove in the end of a cave tunnel and immediately find yourself confronted by a pair of snarling crag wolves, the vicious predators who have been feeding on the body remains of some large creature quickly turn away from their meal and lunge at you. Their deadly teeth gnashing wildly as they attempt to tear out your throat. As the second wolf slumps to the cave floor, you step back to the oozing carcass and cautiously peer into the surrounding room. No sign of anything else stirring in the darkness. You quickly check over your gear before turning your attention to the bloody remains of a large creature upon which the wolves were feeding. Close examination of the carnage reveals a large bloody heap of bones and shredded flesh is the remains of an ogre. You can only surmise that the massive creature was likely set upon by crag wolves, perhaps as it slept in this very cave, which you now realize must have been its lair. So it's an ogre's lair. You carefully search through the gruesome pile and discover, much to your surprise, an iron key attached to them with the blood-soaked twine. Even the key may prove to be important, you promptly take possession of it. I think I already broke into that chest that key's for. In the corner, much of its hilt and blade are covered in dry blood. As a two-handed sword, it seems probable the heavy weapons where the ogre must have wielded as it tried to defend itself, but unsuccessfully against the savage foes. After making certain you haven't missed anything, you're ready to resume exploration. Oh, I'm sorry, not really. Alright, let's go to the part I haven't been to yet. More wolves. There's still more. So we have to circle about till we find them all. So we've been to every corner of this place. So it's just about random battles now. Still more. What you got to say? There's still more. Oh, this is how you leave. There we go. Come on, last one. No. Still more. Oh, come on, last one. Nope, still more. Come on. You're but certain you've slain the last of the crag wolves in this cave. You must get set off through the cave and get back out of here. But we shouldn't have to worry about being attacked anymore because we killed everybody. Sitting just outside the mouth of the cave, we take a few minutes to check over equipment before setting out for the farm of Landmere Grayfin, eager to report a successful task. As expected, Landmere is pleased and grateful to learn that you rid the cave of the dire menace posed by the crag wolf pack. Promptly hands over a bag containing gold we promise you. You'll stay to supper with us, he says, smiling as he waves his hand direction to the large dwelling. With venison and a bit of mutton and stew that's got both. Yes. Can I wash off first? Cause ew. The meal proves to be the best you've had in months. Landmere, his wife, Edrelny, and their 3 young daughters are splendid hosts, and through conversing with them you learn much about what recently transpired in and around Hawklor. After supper, Landmere presses you for the details of adventure in the cave, leaving out the more gruesome bits. You provide a thrilling account of your victory of the crag wolves. As your daughters are shuffled off to bed, Landmere, leaning in your cane, steps outside with you with a short stout pipe snuggled between his teeth. He actually revealed more than you did in the presence of his family. Complete knowledge. You're getting to recount your adventure, this time leaving nothing out. These are troubling times, said Landmere, as you conclude your account, and there's no mistake about that. To think that in the end the savage wild pressing up against our borders may be the least of everything. The fools you find about, not just here, mind everywhere. They knew nothing of it, nothing of what's going on, what's creeping up on us. They do not know something, they don't see it for what it really is. We can all certainly be thankful there are few of us who see it, who understand what's coming. We can all be thankful for someone like you, and I am. The broad-shouldered farmer, still sporting his bulky frame with the use of a cane, steps forward and meets you in the shoulder post. Spend the next small while conversing with Landmere before bidding him farewell and setting off for the village. Edrelny emerges from the house as you're leaving and thanks you too. Together she and Landmere watches you depart. You're welcome, Edrelny. Oh, I guess I'm a lesbian. like a lady. It is nearing the dusk when you arrive back in Hawklor, strolling along the village's lonely thoroughfare. Your mind wanders back to your parting conversation with Lamir. As you near the village centre, you find yourself poring over some of what he said to you. His troubling times, and to think that in the end, the savage wall pressing up against our borders may be the least of everything. What do you mean it's the least of everything? Concentration is abruptly broken by the eruption of loud, friendly voices. Looking up, you realize you're drawing up to Stoneback Tavern. The flickering lights of the blazing fire and the thick chill of the unbridled merriment spills out from the tavern open doors. You turn and head toward the welcoming glow, only to suddenly pause as a picture of Grayfin abode appears at the fore of your thoughts. The remote house darkly silhouetted against the darkening sky, surrounded by encroaching fingers of deep and lonely wilds, proves an inexplicably unsettling image. And with your next breath, the image in your mind begins dissolving. You hurriedly make your way into the thronged tavern, thankful, if only for the next small while, not to have to face the night's twinkling shadow alone. Is that something about shadow magic there? That getting images about the shadow? It's the end. Hey, so that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out. I've had to pee like this whole time, so glad that we're done. Until next time, you know what I'm gonna say. Peace.